What's up, man?
Yo, what up, what up?
Introduce yourself, brother.
What's up, man? FUERZA Mexica, MC, hip-hop, father.
Father?
Yep.
That's what's up, man. The reason I pulled you to the side was ultimately because you had told me earlier that you don't consider yourself, what was the term that I said?
Chicano?
Chicano.
Right.
But you're Mexican American. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I'm a lot of things. I'm a bunch of labels.
Are your parents from Mexico?
Yeah, so I was born in Mexico City.
Right.
And then when I was 8, that's when we decided to cross the border and make that journey.
Right.
Ended up in Chicago.
Right.
My uncle and my pops, they had already set up shop in Chicago.
Right. So it's safe to say that your parents were born in Mexico,
Yeah.
and you were raised in Northern
Chicago.
America.
Yeah,
Right? In
like
the USA.
Midwest.
In the USA, the Midwest.
Yeah.
So what I found interesting was that whenever you hear about like Mexican Americans, Chicanos, or whatever the politically correct term is or what have you,
Right.
it's usually when you hear of Mexican Americans, they're usually from New Mexico or Arizona,
Right.
Las Vegas, definitely California. That's typically
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's a controlled narrative, definitely.
Right.
I feel like the mass media has the ability to control like how we
Of
are
course.
viewed. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So I think it's definitely like a very Hollywood, very like
Yeah.
the same. You know, they
Most
put you in a
definitely.
box, and it's like there's nothing outside of that.
Right.
But if you talk to somebody, like if you talk to a Mexican that has grew up in North Carolina, for example,
Right.
with a Southern accent,
Yeah.
you trip out.
But listen, this is my thing. I hate to sound harsh, but those voices aren't heard very loud.
Yeah, they're not.
You know what I'm
They're
saying?
not.
Mexican American voices are heard loud in Hollywood and Southern California, typically Los Angeles, San Diego, and then the further you go deep into the country, the less loud the voices.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I found it so interesting that you grew up in Chicago. How long have you been in Southern Cali for?
11 years now.
11 years. So
Yeah.
what year was that?
Oh, what is it? 08?
08.
08.
So you weren't even here in the 90s. Okay.
No.
So,
I was in Chicago in the 90s.
Oh, that is crazy. So since 08, what are the main differences that you've experienced since 08 living in Southern Cali and living in Chicago?
Right. So
what's the differences? You know, as
Yeah,
far
yeah,
as the gang
so there's a-
culture and then
when it comes down to gang culture, I think that Chicago always was looking at Los Angeles for guidance.
right. We're the big
like-
brother,
Exactly.
so to speak.
I would say, the example, right? Like, because,
But only as far as Mexicans, not blacks.
yeah, as far as Mexicans, I'm
As far as
talking about.
Mexicans,
Yeah,
yeah,
as far as
yeah,
Mexicans go. Because
But let me cut you
Because
off.
of what you said, hold on, but hold on before you
Okay.
cut me off.
Yeah.
What you said was the common voice, the voice that's loudest was that of the LA.
Right.
So
the LA, right.
we were paying attention to that because that's what we saw.
Hollywood.
That's all we seen.
Yes.
So
You relate
a
to
lot of
that.
us, you relate to it. Like it looks like you, so you try to emulate that, or you try to live up to that.
100%.
So you have that mix, but the fact that we're geographically like located in the middle,
Right.
We also get that New York flavor. So you also get like that
Right.
Jamaican. You also get that,
Right.
that
So, for instance,
Puerto Rican.
For instance, I have my boy Kiki Smooth. You know Kiki Smooth?
Yeah.
He was raised in Compton. He's Mexican, but he gravitates towards that black kind
Culture.
of culture.
Right.
Now, is that what happens in Chicago? Do you guys gravitate towards the black culture, or do you guys try to gravitate more towards the the Chicano base?
I think it's a combination of both, right? I think the romanticizing of our roots, or like being in touch with our native self,
Most definitely.
forces us
Right.
to do our homework and to be in touch with that brownness in
Most
us,
definitely.
right? But then you also look at what's out there in the media, right? So
the influence.
and the influences,
Yeah.
right? So you look at hip hop, predominantly black,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like that spoke to me more than anything else, any other genre out there or any other culture spoke to me. So you have mad influence.
Most definitely.
but definitely Chicago is one of those cities that one of the biggest differences is in Chicago, like almost every single gang has Mexican and black members.
Oh.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
No, but in the 90s, we used to have that. It wasn't until a meeting that the Mexican mafia had where they said you have to...
Can't do that no more.
You can't do that anymore. But prior to like 90-something, we used to... Blacks and browns used to get on with each other.
And there's still some, and there's still
and
like
if you
very
look at,
few, depending on the
I hate
neighborhood.
to get politically incorrect, but if you look at Northern California, Mexicans and blacks, they fuck with each other.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. No, that's
so
that's
you're
facts.
saying that in Chicago, Mexicans and blacks fuck with each other a little bit more.
A lot more.
Except
in the prison, like when it comes down to the whole prison politics, that's
right. And where do the Puerto Ricans stand at? Because I know there's a Puerto Rican...
a big ass Puerto Rican community, man.
And do Mexicans and Puerto Ricans fuck with each other, or?
Yeah, I mean, so as
because I know the Latin Kings,
as people,
like, isn't there?
As people, we fuck with everybody. Everybody fucks with everybody, right?
Right.
I grew up like in the southwest side of Chicago. There's a big Palestinian community, for example.
Right.
So we fuck with Palestinian folks.
Yeah.
Palestinian, you know, you got Palestinians, blacks, Mexicans, even whites, like white trash people, like broke white people, people that are like just in the same economic, bracket as us, and like we're doing the same thing. Like my homie Chris, this white cat, he grew up with his parents. But his parents were never home, so we would be able to go to his house afterward, because they had a house, right? They had a house, and they had all the food, they had cable TV, they had everything set up for him. But he never had those parents. He never had a father figure. He never had a mother figure.
Right.
Me, on the other hand, I didn't have a home. I didn't have all the snacks and shit. Sometimes, we had to like be cold as fuck because Chicago is cold. We couldn't pay for the gas for the heat.
That's the coldest place.
You know what I'm saying? But we fuck with each other on that level of
just on some humanity shit. When weather gets fucked up, everybody
gets
the same
cold.
race.
Everybody feels it. Yeah,
it's kind of like if you're in Cali and there's an earthquake happening, whether your neighbor is black or
everybody
white,
shook.
Everybody's shook, and once everybody gets shook, then we all humans.
Yeah. Everybody shook.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Is there Sureños in Chicago?
Nah, it's a whole different. The way I would explain that is basketball. You look at basketball, that's what Chicago is. You got the East Conference, you got the West Conference, right? You got the people, you got the folks. Then you have those divisions, right? The Central, the North, the West.
Now, okay, are the where you grew up at? Was a Mexican community?
Yeah.
How far away, as far as proximity goes, was the Puerto Rican community? Because there's a Puerto Rican
60 blocks? Because I was at 35.
Blocks?
No, maybe 50.
How many miles?
7.
7 miles?
Yeah, about 7 miles.
Okay. Did you grow up with any Puerto Ricans in your...
No, yeah, so, I mean, it's like MacArthur Park, for example, right? Like MacArthur Park is predominantly... Shouts out to El Salvador and Guatemala. I'm going to use the example of Salvadorian, right? MacArthur Park is predominantly Salvadorian, but that doesn't mean you can't have a Salvadorian living in Downey.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, the fact that Chicago is home to the biggest Mexican population outside of Mexico, the second biggest.
But the most populated area in the United States as far as brown people go is which is MacArthur Park. That's the most densely populated area of just
density. Yeah, talk about density. That shit is fucking packed. No, it's ridiculous. But so Chicago is home to the second biggest population
that's
outside
crazy.
of Mexico. So only second to LA, and then when it comes out to the Puerto Rican community, it's also the second biggest Puerto Rican community outside of the island, besides New York.
You know what's funny? That I bet that if Hollywood, as far as filmmaking, wasn't in Hollywood and it was Chicago, if the epicenter of filmmaking was in Chicago, they would probably be doing y'all's story as opposed to be doing Colors or Blood In, Blood Out.
Exactly.
Because it's the most populated. So it probably is more dense. That's crazy that it's so far away from Mexico, but it's the most densely populated. When California and San Diego.
So this is why So every single train in the United States runs through Chicago. So Chicago's a distribution center.
Right.
That's why El Chapo set up his shop there, because he has access to the rest of the country.
Right.
You control Chicago, you can control all the railroads. And that means that back in the day, there was a lot of railroad jobs in the stockyards.
Right.
What are our people all about? Working.
Yeah.
And it's so far away that you don't have immigration presence like you do in all these border states. You know what I'm saying? So people in LA stood here.
Typically, the immigration is at the border when you're in Chicago, or you're far away. It's not middle America, but it's deep in America.
Yeah, it's way up there.
It's even deeper than middle America.
It's deep, and it's to the side. It's deep into the side.
And it's too cold where motherfuckers like...
nobody had time for that.
Nobody got time for that. That's ill. Okay. Next question is, do you like California?
I love California. This is home, you know?
Is this home?
This is home now. This is, home is where the heart's at.
So. Okay, so when you came over here, did you have an instant connection to this